Hare Krishna everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Happy Nityanand Trayodashi to everyone who's tuning in today. And today for the festival class we'll be discussing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 5 of Adi Leela, titled The Glories of Lord Nityananda Balarama. So we'll recite the first couple of verses from this chapter together. And then we'll discuss some of the glories of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and some of his pastimes. So let's get into it. So this is Adi Leela, chapter 5, text number 1. We'll first recite the invocation praise. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay. Text number 1. Vande Anantad Bhuteshvaryam Sri Nityanandam Ishwaram Yasye Chaya Tatsvarupam Agnenapi Nirupyate. Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Sri Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. Text number 2. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3. Eight Sat Sloke Kahila Krishna Chaitanya Mahima Pancha Sloke Kahi Nityananda Tatvasima. I have described the glory of Sri Chaitanya in 6 verses. Now in 5 verses I shall describe the glory of Lord Nityananda. Text 4. Sarvavatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Sri Balaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body. Text 5. Ekai Swarupa Donhe Bhina Matra Kaya Ajya Kaya Vyuha Krishna Lila Rasahaya. These two are one and the same identity. They differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Text 6. Say Krishna Navadvipe Sri Chaitanya Chandra Say Balarama Sange Sri Nityananda. That original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. Text number 7. We'll just go straight to a translation. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sesanag, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions. So in these first few opening verses of the 5th chapter of Adi Leela, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is establishing the supreme position of Nityananda Prabhu, explaining that Sri Nityananda Prabhu is non-different from Balaram, and Balaram is the immediate expansion coming from Krishna, and he is non-different from Krishna. You can also consider Balaram as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Prabhupada in his purports will explain in CC that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Balaram or Nityananda Prabhu is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. So being the first expansion of Krishna is just as powerful, but his mood is different. Krishna's mood is that of the enjoyer. He is the Ekala Ishwar or Sab-Bicha. So Krishna is the supreme controller, he is the supreme master and enjoyer. Everyone else is his servant. So Lord Balaram, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he takes on that mood of service. So in these opening verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he will explain how Nityananda Prabhu is serving Krishna. And the glories of Nityananda Prabhu will be further explained in this chapter. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that all these different incarnations which we see, such as first Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that from Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudev, and then from them comes Narayan, then comes the second quadruple expansion. And then from the Sankarshan of the second quadruple expansion comes Mahavishnu, then comes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Then comes Shiradaksha Vishnu. And all the different Lila avatars which we see in Bhagavatam, they all come from Shiradaksha Vishnu. So in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he establishes the supreme position of Nityananda Prabhu, that Mahavishnu, from whose bodily pores millions and millions of universes are being created, that Mahavishnu is just a plenary portion of Nityananda Ram. Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from whose navel Brahma comes and from whom the whole universe is situated, he is just a small plenary portion, expansion of Nityananda Ram. Same with Shiradaksha Vishnu and also Ananta Shesh. Today in the morning, Nrsimha Kavach Prabhu, he was explaining how he was reading from the same chapter where it's explained that all the millions and billions of universes, they're all resting on the hoods of Ananta Shesh. But even though there's so many unlimited, countless universes being situated on Lord Ananta Shesh's hoods, he can barely even feel it. He can't even notice it. And it's just like a mustard seed on top of our head. Or as Nrsimha Kavach Prabhu was explaining, just like a small speck of dandruff on our head. We can't even feel it. We can't even notice, okay, there's a small speck of dandruff or mustard seed. So that's how great Ananta Shesh is. He is so great, he's so powerful, that millions and billions of universes are situated on his hoods and he can't even feel it. And that Ananta Shesh is just a partial, plenary expansion of Lord Nityananda Ram. So in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he first establishes the supreme position of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And this philosophy of this tattva of Nityananda Prabhu goes on for quite a number of verses in this chapter. And then in the second half of this chapter, he'll recite a story of his own personal life, of the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that he used to have Sankirtan festival in his house every day, and one of the servants or one of the associates of Lord Nityananda Prabhu one day happened to come to his house. His name was Miniketana Ramdas, and he was completely absorbed in Krishna Prema. He used to chant and sing in ecstasy and dance in ecstasy. And he enters into Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's house. But there was one problem. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, although he had very strong faith in Lord Gauranga, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a supreme personal Godhead. Although he had faith in Mahaprabhu, he didn't have that same faith in Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He didn't think much of him. And due to that offensive mentality of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, we'll see later on how he fell down. Also, there was a pujari situated in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's house, and when he saw Miniketana Ramdas enter, he didn't offer his respect or recognize Miniketana Ramdas. And due to that offense, and due to Ramdas could understand that the mentality of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, that he doesn't have any faith or respect towards Nityananda Prabhu. And being a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, Miniketana Ramdas was very displeased. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he could understand this, and he rebuked his own brother, explaining to his brother that, the mentality that you carry is very bad, it's very degraded. It's better to be an atheist. It's better to reject both the brothers. It's better to reject both Lord Gaura and Lord Nityananda than to be a hypocrite and accept only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to reject Nityananda Prabhu. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that these two brothers, Gaur Nitai, they're actually one and the same. You can't separate both of them. They're like one body. That's how close together they are. Krishna and Balaram or Lord Gaur Nitai, they're just like one unit, one body. You can't say, okay, I'll only accept Mahaprabhu or only accept Nityananda Prabhu and not the other. If you do like that, then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that's even more worse than being an atheist. So in this way, he rebukes his brother, and Miniketana Ramdas, understanding the offensive mentality of his brother, he breaks his flute, and in anger he leaves the place. And due to the offensive mentality, later on, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, he falls down. Then later on, in this chapter, it's explained, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's personally revealing this personal incident in his own life of Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. And he explains that actually this is a very personal story But what to do? He's forced to reveal this personal story in these pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita just to broadcast the supreme glories of Nityananda Prabhu, the supreme mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. So then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, he goes to sleep at night, and in his dream, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he himself comes. And there's a very nice description of the beauty of Lord Nityananda Prabhu described. I'll quickly go to that section and read you some verses about the beauty of Lord Nityananda Ram. So in that same night, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he comes into a dream, and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he is pleased with Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami for chastising his brother. He is pleased with his faith in himself and in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So out of being pleased with him, he comes into his dream. And so this is again Adi Leela, chapter 5, and this is text 182. Dandavat hoila ami padino payete nijapada padma prabhu dilamora mate. I fell at his feet offering my obeisances. He then placed his own lotus feet upon my head. So this is all happening in his dream. He sees Nityananda Prabhu, he offers obeisances, and then Nityananda Prabhu personally offers his lotus feet on his head. Uta uta bali more bale bara bara utitanra rupa deki hainu chamatkara. Arise, get up, he told me again and again. Upon arising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty. Shama chikana kanti prakanda sharira shakshat kandarpa yaiche mahamala vira. He had a glossy blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself. Text 185. Suvalita hasta pada pakamala nayana pata vastra sire pata vastra paridhana. He had beautifully formed hands, arms and legs, and his eyes were just like lotus flowers. He wore a silk cloth with a silk turban on his head. Text 186. Suvarna kundala karne suvar Nangadavala Payetenupura Bhaje Kante Puspamala. He wore golden earrings on his ears, and golden armlets and bangles. He wore twinkling anklets on his feet, and a garland of flowers around his neck. Chandana lepitanga tilaka sutama matagaja jinimada mantara payana. His body was anointed with sandalwood pulp, and he was nicely decorated with tilak. His movements surpassed those of a maddened elephant. Koti Chandra Jini Mukha Ujvala Varana Dadimba Bijasama Danta Tambula Charvana. His face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons, and his teeth were like pomegranate seeds because of his chewing beetle. Preme Mata Anga Dahine Vame Dole Krishna Krishna Baliya Gambira Bola Bale. His body moved to and fro, right and left, for he was absorbed in ecstasy. He chanted, Krishna, Krishna, in a deep voice. Ranga Yasti Haste Dole Yena Mata Simha Chari Pase Vediache Charanete Bringa. His red stick moving in his hand seemed like a maddened lion. All around the four sides of his feet were bumblebees. Text 191. Parisada gane dekhi saba gopa vese Krishna Krishna kahe sabe saprema avese. His devotees, dressed like cowherd boys, surrounded his feet like so many bees, and also chanted Krishna Krishna, absorbed in ecstatic love. 192. Singhavamsi bhajaya keha keha nache gaya sevaka yogaya tambula chamara dhulaya. Some of them played horns and flutes, and others danced and sang. Some of them offered betel nuts, and others waved chamara fans about him. Nityananda Swarupera Dehiya Vaibhava Kibarupa Guna Lila Alaukika Sabha. Thus I saw such opulence in Lord Nityananda Swarup. His wonderful form, qualities and pastimes are all transcendental. So this is a very nice series of verses describing the beauty of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami personally sees in his own dream. So he has a blackish, glossy complexion. He's very tall, His beauty surpasses that of millions and millions of moons. He's just like Cupid himself. He has a silk turban on his head. He's wearing silk cloths. Different bangles and jewels all around his body. He is anointed with sandalwood pulp. He has nice tilak. And he's moving about just like a maddened elephant. And it's explained his teeth is slightly reddened due to his chewing betel nut. So it's the description is given, they're just like pomegranate seeds. And it's explained that with a very deep voice, he's chanting Krishna, Krishna. And alongside with him are all of his associates, just like bumblebees, chanting along Krishna and Krishna. Some of his associates are also waving chamara fans, offering him betel nuts, and offering him different services. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he was able to see this whole scene. And then Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiles at Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he tells Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that, "Oh, my dear Krishnadas, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things." So in this way, Lord Nityananda Prabhu personally instructs Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that give up everything, go to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, all your desires will be fulfilled. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wakes up, and the first thing in the morning he does, he immediately leaves everything and goes straight to Vrindavan. And then in the next couple of verses in this chapter following on, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is offering his deep gratitude to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. How it was only due to Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, it was only due to Lord Nityananda Prabhu's instruction to go to Vrindavan that he was able to get the mercy of so many Vaishnavas. After Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he goes to Vrindavan. He meets Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. He gets the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami. And he gets the mercy of all the Vaishnavas which are present in Vrindavan. He gets the dust of their lotus feet. And he further explains, because of Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, not only I got the dust and the association of all these great Vaishnavas, but I also got shelter at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan. So in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is contemplating how all the auspicious things that has happened in his life, all the great blessings that have come upon him, was all simply due to Nityananda Prabhu and due to Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. Because he instructed him to go to Vrindavan, he was able to get so much mercy of so many great exalted Vaishnavas, and he was able to get the mercy of the presiding deities of Vrindavan at the time, such as Radha Govinda, Radha Madan Mohan. And in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he offers his deep, heartfelt gratitude towards Nityananda Prabhu. And some of the verses are recited in great, extreme humility. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that I am worse than a worm in a stool. If anyone hears my name, they'll lose all their piety. If anyone chants my name, all sin will come upon them. I'm so fallen. But Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he is so merciful, he is so compassionate, that even though I'm so fallen, even though I have no good qualities, even though I'm so sinful, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, because he is mad in ecstasy of Krishna Prema, he doesn't distinguish who is good, who is bad. He doesn't distinguish who is pious, who is sinful. He just indiscriminately, out of madness, just gives Krishna Prema to everyone and anyone. And because of that supreme compassion and mercy, because of that supreme merciful mood of Nityananda Prabhu, I have been blessed with such mercy. I have no qualification. I am so fallen, but because Nityananda Prabhu, he is extremely merciful. He doesn't judge who is good, who is bad. He just indiscriminately just showers mercy upon everyone. Because of him only, I have got so much mercy. Because of him, I went to Vrindavan. I got the mercy of all the Goswamis. I got the dust of the lotus feet of so many wonderful Vaishnavas. I got shelter at the lotus feet of Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda. So in this way, he offers his heartfelt gratitude to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So in this way, he gives a very nice overview, not only of the supreme position of Nityananda Prabhu, which is right equal to Krishna. Prabhupada, one time he explained that actually there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is that Krishna is black, Balaram is white. That's the only difference. So in the same way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he establishes the position of Nityananda Prabhu. his supreme position. And also in this chapter, he, through his own personal experience, he showers upon us the compassionate nature, the merciful mood of Nityananda Prabhu. And one more thing we can take from, what does it mean for us? For us, it's given that Prabhupada, for example, in Krishna book, he explains at the start that Lord Balaram, he is the Adi Guru, and the spiritual master is actually a manifestation of Lord Balaram's mercy. So in the same way, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram Hoila Nitai, Balaram is non-different from Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Prabhu is non-different from Balaram. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada explains that actually all the spiritual masters, they should all be considered as the representative of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And just like we're seeing in this chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is contemplating, how did I get so much mercy? I came to Vrindavan, I got the Sangha of so many wonderful Vaishnavas, I got to make so much advancement, I got the shelter of such amazing deities. How did this all happen? It all happened due to Nityananda Prabhu. He instructed me to go to Vrindavan, I followed his instruction, and just due to following the instruction, so much mercy just came stumbling upon me. So just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is contemplating, how did I get so much mercy? How is this possible? And then finally he's offering his gratitude towards his Guru, Nityananda Prabhu. In the same way, we can also apply the same thing to our lives, that we should also contemplate and offer our gratitude towards all those wonderful devotees by whose mercy we've come into KC. Not just our Diksha Guru, but so many wonderful devotees who helped us in the beginning, who brought us to the temple, who preached to us, many Siksha Gurus. We should always be thankful, and we should never forget about how much help they have done. We should always contemplate. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is giving full credit to Nityananda Prabhu. He is not accepting anything for himself. He is saying, I'm actually the most sinful, I'm the most fallen. I have no credit for my Krishna consciousness. Whatever that's given to me is simply the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. So he is giving all the credit to his Guru, Nityananda Prabhu. So in the same way, the Acharyas Prabhupada explained that we should always have this grateful attitude, and we should always remember that wherever we are now in Krishna consciousness, it's all simply due to the mercy of the Vaishnavas, it's all simply due to the mercy of our spiritual masters, our Diksha Guru, our Shiksha Gurus, all those wonderful devotees who brought us into Krishna consciousness. And my Guru Maharaj, he says, in one class he was explaining that he personally makes a habit that whenever he comes across any devotee in any part of the world who has somehow or other helped him in his spiritual life, he always makes it a point to offer his thank you to them. He always makes it a point to offer the gratitude. Even though he might have done so many times in the past, still whenever he stumbles across a devotee who has helped him personally in his spiritual life, he always makes it a point to offer thank you and gratitude towards that devotee. So in the same way, we can also contemplate who are those devotees who brought us into Krishna consciousness, and we should offer deep, heartfelt gratitude. And we should always understand that wherever we are now, it's not due to our own endeavor, it's just simply the mercy of Guru Krishna, it's simply due to the mercy of the Vaishnavas. And our spiritual masters, they're all simply the representatives of Lord Nityananda Ram, of Nityananda Prabhu. So that's a little bit of overview of the 5th chapter of Adi Leela, titled the Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. We can discuss a bit about Guru Tattva, about the role that Guru plays in our life, because as we were explaining before, Prabhupada explains that the spiritual master is simply a representative of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Balaram, they are the Adi Guru, they are the original spiritual master, and all the Gurus around us, they're simply acting as manifestation, expansions of Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu's, or the spiritual master, Guru's role in our spiritual life is so important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains in his teachings to the Goswami that Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Leda Beach, that the conditioned soul, he's been transmigrating from one body to another for countless millions and billions of lifetimes, from one part of the universe to another part, through so many different lives, so many different species of life, so many different planets. He's just been going here and there all over the universe for countless lifetimes. And it is only after he gets the mercy of Guru and Krishna that he finally gets the seed of bhakti. So how do we start Krishna consciousness? How do we start bhakti? It is only when we come in contact with another devotee. And that devotee is like a initial guru, Vacha Pradakshina Guru. And he puts that seed of bhakti into our heart. So bhakti is not something that we can acquire by our own endeavor. It's gifted to us by another devotee. So to get that seed of bhakti, firstly, number one, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, that first seed of bhakti, it comes from the Guru. It comes from Krishna's devotee. It comes from the external manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu. Then secondly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, point number two, okay, you have the seed of bhakti, but to get the seed to grow, you have to water the seed. And that watering process is compared to hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna, the glories of Krishna's devotees. And who teaches us how to hear and chant? Again, it's the Guru, again, it's the devotees, the external manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu. So the Guru, the spiritual master, firstly, he gives us the seed of bhakti. Then again, he teaches us how to pour water onto that seed and make the bhakti kripa grow. So that's point number two. Point number three, Mahaprabhu explains what the Guru does. Is, okay, you've got the seed of bhakti, okay, you're watering the plant, okay, it's slowly sprouting up. But there's one problem. There is many animals out there in the backyard, in the jungle, in the bushes. And these animals, the rabbits, the kangaroos, wombats, they can come into the garden anytime and, chew on the plant, chew on the bhakti kripa and damage the bhakti kripa. And there's even big animals like the big maddened elephant that if he gets into a garden, that's it. The whole bhakti kripa is finished. So these small animals and big animals that might come into a garden and cause harm to the plant, they're compared to offenses. And there is seva aparad and then there is Vaishnava aparad. So seva aparad or aparad in the service of the Lord, in deity worship, that's compared to the small animals that might come and cause harm to the bhakti kripa. And the big animal, the elephant coming in, that's compared to Vaishnava aparad, the offense at the lotus feet of a devotee. So Mahaprabhu explains that one needs to be on vigil, one needs to be very careful to guard himself from these animals that might come in and cause harm to the plant. And again, the point number three, Mahaprabhu explains, again, it's the Guru that gives this guidance that, okay, you need to be careful when you're worshipping the deity, when you're serving the Lord, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, this is how you should serve the Lord. In this way, the spiritual master, the Guru, the external manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu, he guides us how to protect ourselves from seva aparad, so we don't hamper the growth of our bhakti kripa. And also, the Guru, he warns us against the most grievous offense, the maddened elephant, the hatimata offense of Vaishnava aparad. And in this way, the Guru trains us, gets into mind the significance of committing aparads, and he trains us to perform bhakti very seriously and very carefully. Prabhupada many times will explain, okay, bhakti is very simple, very easy, anyone can do it. But at the same time, Prabhupada many times will use the example that bhakti is just like the blade of a razor. If you do it properly, you can shave nicely, you will do a good job. But if you're inattentive just for a second, and just due to inattentiveness, you can cut yourself and then immediately blood will come out. So in this way, Prabhupada explains, yes, bhakti is very simple and easy, but at the same time, we need to be very strict and we need to be very careful with how we deal with other Vaishnavas and careful with how we are serving the Lord. Because these seva aparad, Vaishnava aparads, they can hamper the growth of our bhakti kripa. So all these different instructions and guidance, the spiritual master gives. So that's point number three. Point number four, that Mahaprabhu explains in his teachings to the Goswamis, is to Rupa Goswami. And this is in, Madhya Lila. Mahaprabhu explains is, so number one, the Guru gives you the seed. Number three, he teaches us how to water the plant. Third point is he helps protect the creeper from seva aparad, Vaishnava aparad. And number four, he points out weeds which are growing along with the bhakti creeper. So as a plant is growing, so anyone who's done gardening will know that you plant some seeds, the plant grows, but along with the plant sometimes weeds grow. And Mahaprabhu explains that these weeds, sometimes they look exactly as the bhakti creeper. So one who is not an expert gardener, he can't point out which is the actual weed and which is the actual plant, because the weed looks exactly like the bhakti creeper. So to a common layman, he can't figure out what's weed, what's not. Everything looks the same, everything looks normal. Because Mahaprabhu explains, sometimes the weed looks exactly like the bhakti creeper. But an expert gardener, he can pick out, these are the weeds that are growing, we need to cut this off. So those weeds are compared to the anarthas, which are present in all of our hearts, in our conditioned state. So Prabhupada explains that in our conditioned state, sometimes some anarthas we can pick out ourselves. Okay, we can understand, okay, I have this fault, that fault, I need to work on this. But there's other anarthas in ourselves which we can't pick out ourselves. Just like with the analogy of the weeds and the gardener. To an ordinary person, sometimes the weed looks exactly like the actual plant, and one can't pick out what's the actual weed, what's the actual plant. So in the same way, Prabhupada explains, many times we'll have many anarthas in our hearts, and we won't even know it. We will just think it's okay, that what I'm doing is fine. We'll think it's just fine. It doesn't come to our mind that this is something I'm doing wrong. But the guru or the spiritual master is able to pick out that weed. He's able to pick out the anartha, which we ourselves can't notice. And he's able to point that out. That's why the instructions or the guidance of the guru and the Vaishnavas is so important. Because they can pick out faults in us that even we ourselves can't pick out. Due to our ignorance, we're unable to see. And that's where the mercy of our spiritual masters, the Vaishnavas, come in. Just like at the start of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the second verse, it's given that Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami prays that I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who are just like the sun and the moon that have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Godadis. And they're dissipating the darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali, and they're bestowing upon us the wonderful benediction of Krishna consciousness. So the sun and the moon, they dissipate external darkness. But Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Gaurachandra, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they dissipate the darkness in our hearts. They light up the torch in our hearts, and then we're able to see, okay, I'm doing this wrong, this is anartha in me, I have to work on this, I have to become more humble, I'm too proud, I'm arrogant. All these things will come when we get out of darkness. When we're in darkness, we can't see anything. Everything is just black. But when someone turns the light on, then we can see, oh, okay, I'm like this. Oh, I have this fault, I have that fault. So all that knowledge or that light, that dissipation of darkness, it happens by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. It happens by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, by the mercy of our spiritual masters, who are mercy expansions of Nityananda Prabhu. On our own, it's very hard for us to figure it out ourselves, just like Mahaprabhu is explaining. Many times the weeds look exactly like the bhakti creeper. But the expert gardener, the spiritual master, is able to pick out what's a weed, what's not. That's why guidance is so much necessary. Otherwise, if we're just on our own, we'll think that, yeah, I'm doing everything right, everything is fine, I'm a nice devotee, everything is going all right. But the expert spiritual master is able to pick out where is it we're going wrong, where is it we need improvement. That's why it's so important to have guidance among us. And the more guidance we have, wealth of guidance, the more fortunate we are, the more, can say, more blessings or mercy we have of Radha Gopinath. So in this way, Mahaprabhu explains the significant, wonderful role of the Guru in our life. He gives us the seed of bhakti. He teaches us how to water the creeper. He teaches us how to protect the creeper from Seva Prad, Vaishnava Prad, from the small and the big animals. And he also points out weeds which are growing along with the creeper and helps us cut off those weeds. If we don't cut off the weeds, what Prabhupada explains is, if we don't cut off the weeds, then all that water that we're pouring on the plant, instead of being taken by the plant itself, will all be absorbed by the weeds. And the weeds will just grow stronger and stronger. So in the same way Prabhupada explains, if we don't work on the anarthas in our heart and develop Vaishnava qualities, then, and we chant inattentively, then all our inattentive chanting will do is that instead of helping us advance in bhakti, it will just simply increase the anarthas or increase the weeds in our heart. So it's a very scary, dangerous situation to be in. So that's why we always need devotees around us to, guidance around us to point out our faults, to point out areas of improvement. Otherwise, if we're on our own, we'll always think that we're doing everything nice. So in this way, Mahaprabhu, he explains the significance of the Guru in the life of a sadhaka. And as we were explaining before, that all our Gurus, spiritual masters, they're simply expansions, they're simply the representatives of the original Guru, Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Another quality of the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu is his supreme mercy, is his supreme compassion. And we saw that already earlier on. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was explaining about how merciful Nityananda Prabhu is. And we can see some pastimes in CC, Chaitanya Bhagavat of this. For example, classical case of Jaga and Madai. Their offense was, you can say, even more than the offense of atheists and Mayavadis. Mayavadis, atheists, they don't do any physical offense, just in their mind or mentally or verbally they offend the Vaishnavas. But Jaga and Madai, they went to the extreme level. The greatest offense you can do to a Vaishnava is physically offend them. And that's what they did. They got a pot and hit it straight onto the head of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. When not all that Nityananda Prabhu was trying to do was simply help them and to simply save them. And that's what he got in response. And what was Nityananda Prabhu's reaction? He didn't get upset or mad, nothing. His heart was just simply overflowing with compassion, mercy upon them. He didn't take any grudge, nothing. And he was just simply thinking of their own deliverance. And again, Nityananda Prabhu is showing the mood of a Vaishnava, the mood of a pure devotee of the Lord, the mood of the spiritual master, how he is so supremely compassionate. Even though someone might offend him, even to such a degree as physically offend him, he doesn't take any grudge, but he's simply thinking of their benefit. And that's what we see with Nityananda Prabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in anger, he comes, he's just about to release his Sudarshan Chakra, and Nityananda Prabhu is crying and begging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please spare them, my Lord. In this day and age, you haven't come to kill them with your weapons, because if you have to do that, then you have to kill everyone, because in everyone's heart, there is a demon inside them. In this day and age, we have to kill the demons within the hearts of all the conditioned souls. So in this way, he pleads with Mahaprabhu to spare Jaga and Madai. And out of the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, Jaga and Madai, they get spared, they get saved, and they later on turn into wonderful Vaishnavas, great exalted associates of Mahaprabhu. And in this way, throughout CC, throughout the Shastras, we see this mood of devotees, how they're so supremely compassionate, so supremely merciful. And another classical example is that of Haridas Thakur. He was being beaten in 22 marketplaces so severely. And obviously Krishna, he can't tolerate his devotee going through so much pain. Krishna immediately, he releases his Sudarshana Chakra to finish off these soldiers who are causing so much harm to Haridas Thakur. And Ghanshyam Prabhu is explaining the story in his CC classes a few months ago, that Sudarshan Chakra is coming to kill these soldiers, but he stops. Why? Because on one side Krishna is telling him to kill, but on the other side, what's Haridas Thakur praying? He is praying, my dear Lord, please don't cause any harm to these soldiers. They don't know what they're doing this out of ignorance. Please deliver them, please liberate them. So this is what Haridas Thakur is praying for those persons around him who are causing him so much harm, beating him so severely in 22 different marketplaces. He's praying to Krishna, please don't do any harm to them, please forgive them, they're just acting out of ignorance. Instead, you please liberate them. Instead, you please deliver them. So now Sudarshan Chakra is thinking, what should he do? On one hand, Krishna is asking him, kill these guys. On the other hand, his devotee, Krishna's devotee, is saying, don't touch them. Instead, we should liberate them. And then Sudarshan Chakra thinks that out of two, Krishna and Krishna's devotee is most superior. So I have to listen to Krishna's devotee, Haridas Thakur, and I can't touch them. So then Sudarshan Chakra, he leaves, he doesn't do anything. And obviously, it's given that Mahaprabhu, he was personally protecting Haridas Thakur from the beating. But again, we're seeing that same mood of the devotee, of the pure devotee of Lord, showed by Haridas Thakur, showed by Nityananda Prabhu, showed by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, again, that same father Hiranyakashipu who tried to torture him, who tried to assassinate him, not just a few ways, a couple of ways. The Bhagavatam explains that Hiranyakashipu tried to torture and murder Prahlad Maharaj in thousands of different ways. So that same person who tried to kill him in thousands of different ways, for that same person, Prahlad Maharaj is praying. When he's asked for a boon benediction, he's praying for that same father. That my father, he was a fool, he was ignorant, out of ignorance he did so many crazy things. I am simply concerned about his well-being. Please, don't send him to hell, please liberate him, please deliver him. Again, this compassionate, merciful mood of a devotee is very bewildering. It seems like so out there. How can someone be so compassionate, so merciful, so forgiving? For us, it's very alien. Usually when someone does something bad, we hold grudges. It's very hard for us to forget such a thing happening. But when we read the Shastras, when we see these stories of Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, Nityananda Prabhu, we understand the level of what a pure devotee is, and we understand actually how far down low we are and how much progress we need to make. And we can pray to Nityananda Prabhu to develop these qualities. Prabhupada explains again in Krishna book that Balaram, Bala means strength, so Balaram is the Supreme Personality who gives us spiritual strength. So anything we're struggling with, we can pray to Lord Balaram, pray to Lord Nityananda Prabhu for spiritual strength, and they'll help us develop these qualities. So this is one of the qualities of the Guru or the spiritual master or of Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Ram, and that is the supreme, merciful, compassionate nature. Another story that Ghanshyam Prabhu was sharing in his CC classes was that of Nityananda Prabhu delivering a great king of thieves. One time, Nityananda Prabhu, he was staying at a great Brahmana's house, a devotee's house, and there was a king of dacoits. He happened to see Nityananda Prabhu, and as we were reading the description in 5th chapter of Adi Leela, the wonderful, gorgeous beauty of Nityananda Prabhu, how he was decorated with a silk turban, wearing silk clothes, and he had wonderful jewelry, armlets, bangles all around his body, anointed with sandalwood pulp. So when this king of the dacoits, king of the thieves, he happens to see Lord Nityananda Prabhu's beauty, and he happens to see all the wonderful jewels and decorations all over Nityananda Prabhu's transformed body, he immediately gets attracted, and he immediately decides in his mind, okay, we need to get in there and steal, murder this personality and take all of his jewels and wealth. So in this way, he gathers his group of thieves and he camps outside the house where Nityananda Prabhu was staying. And this king of the dacoits, actually he was born in a Brahmana's family, but due to, again, bad association, he fell down and he happened to become the king of the dacoits. So they were hiding in the bushes just outside the house, waiting for them to go to sleep. But Nityananda Prabhu and all the devotees in that house, they were just engaged in Nam Sankirtan all night. And by Nityananda Prabhu's potency, they were waiting, and then Nityananda Prabhu, he made them all fall asleep, into deep sleep. And in the morning they wake and they realize, oh, it's already daytime. The whole night is passed. How did we fall asleep? And they all start blaming each other. You fell asleep, you fell asleep, you should have woken up, you should have stayed awake. And then said, okay, we'll come back again tonight. And tonight we won't fall asleep. Tonight we'll be strict. Tonight we'll go in, kill them, and steal all their jewels and the riches that Lord Nityananda Prabhu is wearing. So again, they go a second night. They're hiding in the bushes. And this time when they go close to the house, they're like surprised. They see all around the house in different directions. There are these huge giant soldiers, massive giant soldiers, capable just by themselves of killing hundreds of other people with massive weapons, all standing guard all around the house. And when these thieves, they see this, they just get completely bewildered. Who are these massive, huge, giant soldiers? Where did they come from? And they're just completely bewildered, and they just run away. Then after some time, they again come back another night. This time when they come, they just lose the eyesight. They just become completely blind. And then they start getting a lot of mercy from Nityananda Prabhu. Then they start falling into ditches, they start getting bitten by different bugs, insects, scorpions. And in this way, they go through a lot of physical pain and torture. Firstly, they lose the eyesight, then they fall into ditches with different worms and insects and bugs. In this way, they're getting tortured in so many different ways. And then Indradev, obviously Indradev, the demigods, they're all servants of Nityananda Ram, being angry at these thieves trying to cause harm to their worshipful Lord. Indra, he becomes angry, and then Indra, he throws thunderbolts and a huge storm comes upon their way. In this way, these thieves and these dacoits, they're suffering in so terribly, so badly. And while this suffering is happening to them, this king of the thieves, he, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, he undergoes a change of heart, and he realizes that actually this personality we're trying to rob, he must be the Supreme Personality Godhead. He must be it. He must be the Supreme Personality Godhead. And then in his heart, he starts repenting that I shouldn't have done this. Please forgive me. I surrender unto you. Please forgive me. In his heart, he repents and he surrenders himself onto Nityananda Prabhu. Then when Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he notices this change of heart, then he stops all this suffering which is happening to them, and he gives them back their eyesight. Then this king of the dacoits, he comes to the house, offers his obeisances, and fully surrenders onto Nityananda Prabhu, reveals his heart, begs forgiveness. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu, seeing his wonderful transformation, seeing his sincerity, Lord Nityananda Prabhu says, okay, sin no more. From now on, practice bhakti. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu puts his feet on his head, onto the king of the dacoits, delivers him, bestows him with Krishna prema. And not only that, Lord Nityananda Prabhu instructs him that, okay, now you've become a devotee, now you go out, you're the king of the dacoits, so you have many contacts. There are many other dacoits under you, and you have contacts of other dacoits, of other thieves in other towns. So now you go and preach among the thieves community, you go preach among the dacoits community, and in this way you deliver all the other dacoits out there. So in this way, this is another example of the wonderful mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu, one time they were having a conversation, Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu was pleading with Lord Nityananda Prabhu that please don't come to Jagannath Puri every year. As far as myself is concerned, I have delivered only the great aristocratic leaders of society, like the great head sannyasi of a Mayavadi group, or Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the personal guide or instructor of the king. Like this, I'm just delivering the high-class persons in society. But you, Lord Nityananda, you can do something which even I can't do. Therefore, you please don't come to Jagannath Puri every year from Bengal, but you stay in Bengal and you preach in all the towns and villages of Bengal, and in this way you deliver all of Bengal. This is something only you can do, which I myself can't do. And this is something that's given as a special of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, that he always goes for the most fallen. He delivers the most fallen souls. And it's explained that him and Haridas Thakur will go door to door, and they would preach to even prostitutes and drunkards, pleading with them to take to Krishna Bhakti. And if they won't listen, then Lord Nityananda Prabhu, just like a madman, he would roll on their floor in their lounge room going crazy, and then they wouldn't be able to stand it. And the prostitute would say, stop. Okay, I'll chant Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll chant Hare Krishna. Then Lord Nityananda Prabhu will stop and say, Jai Hari Bol. She just chanted Hare Krishna. She just chanted Hare Krishna. So in this way, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he would go door to door and deliver the most sinful and the most fallen. And we see that with the case of Jagai Madai. We see that with him delivering the king of the thieves and the other dacoits. We see that with him going door to door, delivering prostitutes and drunkards. So this is another side of Nityananda Prabhu, another side of the spiritual master, the mercy of the compassion of the spiritual master, that he can't stand to see other souls going into ignorance, other souls going straight to the hellish planets. And out of his mercy, he tries to do something about it. He tries to help them and save them. So that's the mood of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And as servants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, as servants of the expansions of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, of our spiritual masters, this is something we can do to worship Lord Nityananda, to please Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu's mood is that to save all the fallen souls, to bring them all to Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. So we should all, in our own humble, tiny efforts, we should also try to preach, go out there, do outreach, to bring more and more conditioned souls to the lotus feet, or Sri Radha Gopinath, to the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And this will very much please Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Going out there and doing outreach. Another way we can worship the two wonderful brothers, Lord Gauranitai, is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra very sincerely and with attention. As we all have heard and read so many times, the Yuga Dharma is Nama Sankirtan, and it's given in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, that in this day and age, the sacrifice, the process of yajna sankirtan prana yajantihi sumedasa, that anyone who is a sumedasa, anyone who has good brain substance, anyone who's actually intelligent in this day and age, in Kali Yuga, he will worship Gaur Nitai by doing Sankirtan Yajna. So Sankirtan Yajna includes us chanting our rounds attentively, and also includes Sankirtan Yajna going out there and distributing the holy name, distributing Krishna's glories to persons out there, preaching, doing outreach. And I remember one class Ghanshyam Prabhu was sharing how one of our acharyas, he was sharing a nice little example in refer to chanting attentively. He was explaining, just like if you have a fire sacrifice, the yajna kund, the fire itself, is the mouth of Vishnu. And when you're pouring the ghee or the oblations into the fire, you're pouring the oblations into Vishnu's mouth. And if the pujari or the brahmana, if he misses the fire yajna and instead pours the ghee to the side, then you'll think, something's wrong with him, he's a fool, like he's supposed to pour the ghee into the fire. So in the same way, the acharyas explain that when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Lord Gaur Nitai, they're the Yajna Purush, and every time we chant the Hare Krishna mantra attentively, it is going straight to the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai. It's just as considered to be just as the Brahmana is pouring ghee straight into fire. In the same way, if we chant the holy name attentively, we're pouring the holy name, the oblation of the holy name, straight onto the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai. But if we're chanting inattentively, it's just like the Brahmana, if he's in a sleepy mood, he might miss the fire kund and pour it to the side somewhere else. So in the same way that Acharyas explained, when we chant inattentively, instead of the holy name going to lotus feet of Gaur Nitai, it's going outside the yajna kund. So this is a nice little meditation we can have during our chanting, that by when we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're actually doing it for the pleasure of Gaur Nitai. We're doing it for the pleasure of Radha Gopinath. And every time we're chanting attentively, it's going straight to the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai and it's pleasing them. So this is a nice mood to cultivate. So today we can try and chant sincerely for the pleasure of Gaur Nitai. Not just today, every day. And also we should go out there and do outreach and preach, bring other wonderful conditioned souls to the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai. Not only can we offer a garland of beautiful flowers to Gaur Nitai, but we can also offer a garland of jivas onto the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai. And one last thing, we'll go back to the previous point we were mentioning, how Prabhupada explains Lord Balaram. He is the source of all spiritual strength. So Lord Nityananda, he is the source of all spiritual strength. And my Guru Maharaj explains that in our spiritual life we have many excuses, that I'm not Krishna conscious, fully Krishna conscious because of this reason, that reason. I have this challenge, that challenge. I'm unable to wake up early in the morning. I can't figure out how to properly associate with devotees. I'm too proud or arrogant. We have so many faults, we have so many excuses to not be fully Krishna conscious. My Guru Maharaj explains that ordinarily, that all these excuses, they would hold true. That yes, it's Kali Yuga, yes, it's very difficult, yes, we can't overcome this obstacle, that obstacle. But, my Guru Maharaj explains, if we introduce the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, if we introduce the mercy of Lord Balaram, then all those excuses, all those obstacles we have, we can just crunch them up and just throw it in the bin. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, any obstacle can be destroyed. Any challenge, any obstacle we face in our spiritual lives, we can simply pray to the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and beg for his mercy, beg for spiritual strength, as Prabhupada asks us to do. And with the spiritual strength bestowed upon us by Lord Nityananda Ram, we can overcome any obstacle which is hampering our spiritual growth. So thank you very much. I think we're just on time. We'll stop here. Thank you for everyone tuning in to today's class on Nityananda Trayodashi. Hare Krishna.